Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. This is going to be a Raid Shadow Legends video about the current state of the game, the health of the game, how it's trending on the internet, how popular it is, are things going up or down, and all of that. It's been probably a month or two since I've done a video like this, and I think we see some interesting trends taking place here on some different metrics that are available. So I want to talk about these and what's going on just to keep you kind of in the know for the trend of how the game is kind of moving going forward. And then we'll talk about maybe some of the reasons that these trends are occurring and all of that. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so just grinding the highest stage I can get to in the hard at Doom Tower right now on the new iteration of the Doom Tower. By the way, new video and infographic coming out about the iteration of the Doom Tower here, because we're in the first day or two on that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about some trends that I'm noticing in Raid. Now, I've talked with other creators about this, and when you're a content creator for a game, you can kind of tell, like without even having to look anything up, you can tell how the game is doing just based off of like the traffic that your content is getting compared to typical. I mean, especially when you're someone like me that has done, I don't know, probably 1,500 videos on Raid for like the last 4 years. You can kind of tell the traction and the views that your content is getting, and how people are interacting with it, and how much reach it's getting compared to some of the stuff that you've done over the years. You can kind of tell how things are trending, and I've definitely noticed in the last month or so, 5-6 weeks, that things seem to be trending in a downward direction. So I wanted to look into it a little bit deeper, and when I looked into it, I did kind of see exactly what I was kind of thinking. So what you're seeing right here, let me get this so it'll show the dates. So basically, since the beginning of the year, we've seen Raid. What this means is that when it goes from 98 to 70, it means it's basically gone down about 27-28% or something is since January 1st, basically, which I can kind of tell how my content was seemed to be doing a little bit better in January, and then as I moved into February, I could tell there was a little bit of a downtrend on the traction. And sometimes you don't want to blame it on the trend in general. Sometimes you're just not doing a good job. Sometimes you're not making good enough content. You're not covering topics that people are interested in. So you always want to kind of look at yourself internally first and be like, is my content not reaching as many people for a reason? Like, am I getting worse at doing content? Or should I take a deep look and kind of see if this is a trend in general? And I noticed when I was talking to other creators, a lot of them were kind of saying the same thing. Their stuff's not getting the traction that it used to. So I do think that it could be a trend here that we're seeing in the last about 6 weeks or so of Raid losing about 25 to 30% of its traction in terms of internet traffic. But I wouldn't say it's like super alarming or anything. It sounds really bad. Like, oh my goodness, 30% down in 6 weeks is crazy. But if you look back even as recently as August of last year, which isn't even a year ago, it's like 8 or 9 months ago, you can see that it was actually lower than it is right now. You got 70 right here, and you've got like 65 and 63 and 64. Lots of different iterations last year where it was lower than even currently after dropping 30%. Now, I think it is something to take note of. It's something to notice for sure, but it isn't like alarming yet. It's not like it dropped down to 40 and it set a new low that we haven't seen in years or anything like that. But it's something that we do want to pay attention to and monitor to see about the overall kind of trend of the game. But also, we don't want to just go by one metric. We want to look at a few different things and see if we're able to cross-reference and get the same results based on using completely different parties and different websites and different metrics. And another thing that I like to look at in the context of this discussion is comments per day on Reddit. Now, say what you want about Reddit, like it, love it, hate it, whatever, but it is one of the more popular community forums for all sorts of different games across the internet. So it's a decent way to monitor the amount of discussion and theory crafting and traffic that a game is generating, for like how fervent a community is to interact with each other and discuss the game. And what you can see here is that everything kind of peaked in the summer. Well, I mean, you had a peak kind of right here, and then you also had so like obviously when the game launches, you're gonna get that honeymoon phase where everything rocket ships up to the top, and then you had mostly like a downtrend and an uptrend down, up, and then this was kind of the last spot at where it kind of peaked, and then it started a pretty consistent line, something like this, ever since the summer of 2021. And there's going to be a lot of different things that are going to go into this. The longer that a game is out, you're going to have a less percentage of the player base maybe that is like noob players or whatever. So I remember even streaming back in the early days of Raid, it was like 1 out of every 10 comments I would get on my stream was, who do I 6-star first? Now I'll stream for days, weeks, and not get that question a single time. So there's a definite shift in like the general knowledge of the player base based on how much content is out there now. So there's a lot less of a percentage of clueless people. People are a little bit more in the know than they used to be, and also more people are end game. More people are in a position where they don't really need a ton of input daily. They're at a spot where they know how to manage their account, and they're just kind of playing the game and enjoying it and not needing to discuss constantly all the time. But it can also be a reflection of a game going down and having a little bit of a downturn. So and you'll see that there is like this is just a trend line right here, but there is times where it goes down and up. Like it went down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then up. But the thing is, it's like setting new lows every time. So that's why I say it is time to kind of pay attention to some of this stuff. But it's not going to be like completely game over yet. It's not dire as of right now. And then one more thing that I want to go over is the streaming on Twitch numbers for Raid Shadow Legends. And you can see it right here in the last year. And this is a lot of red across the board. The only thing that is going up is the number of broadcasters right here, which is actually the worst spot for a game to be in, when literally every single thing is red except for the broadcasters. What are these check marks? What is going on here? They just got like progressively worse. Look at that. What is that? Okay, let's try that again. But yeah, when literally every single thing is going down and is red except for the number of broadcasters, that means that it's going to be harder and harder, like exponentially harder and harder for each individual channel on Twitch to garner any sort of traction or be growing in terms of their viewership. Which is why in the last year or so, if you are astute in the Raid community and really paying attention to things, you'll see a lot of like the OG content creators for Raid. They've been streaming a lot less on Twitch than they used to back 2 or 3 years ago. Like I remember I was one of the first people to be streaming Raid consistently, and I remember when I would go live, it would be like immediately 250, 300 viewers. And as opposed to like now, the last like month or two, it's really hard to get to like even 100. So I know that the traction on Twitch is a little bit harder for each individual, and it is and with more and more broadcasters coming into a scene that's going down and down and down, that means you're going to see that a lot of people are less incentivized to stream on Twitch, and it's why you're starting to see people dabble and experimenting with streaming on YouTube, like myself included. I was actually finding that I was able to get a little bit more traction streaming on YouTube compared to Twitch because of how some of these metrics are flowing. So, okay, we get it. Some of the numbers are going down recently. Why would this happen? What would be causing that? I think there's a few different reasons. First of all, I think it's normal for these things to ebb and flow a little bit. Like I was telling you, we've seen some low points where it goes up and down and up and down. So it could be literally just perfectly normal within the lifespan of a game. It's going to go up and down. It's going to experience different waves of popularity where it is doing well and where it is trending down. So it could be that. But B, I think that I don't think it is just that. I think there has been a general sentiment of negativity in the Raid community, a little bit more than I would have previously expected in like a typical week for Raid. And I believe that it's twofold. It's because the events are so often now, they're so consistent and so constant, that there's a lot less excitement when something happens. There's a lot less discussion and hype around like, oh my goodness, it's 2x Ancients. Like, 2 years ago, it was a big deal when it was 2x Ancients because we didn't get just constant shard events. It was like everybody saved up, everybody galvanized, and it was exciting for everybody to pull shards on 2x Ancient weekend. Now there's just so many constant shard events that there's less excitement around the ones that do happen. But not even just that. I think that it is really time for Plarium to hit a PR home run at some point, because it's just been constant negativity. It's been constantly taking things away from players instead of giving something to players. The blessings thing was a huge bummer. I think that was a huge mistake, in my opinion, for them to do that. I understand you might get, 3 or 4% more in revenue. It might help the bottom line, but was that small bump worth the negative sentiment and the backlash? I mean, I guess they'll know when they view their internal metrics. I think it was a blunder. I think I think it actually made the Iron Twins exciting to be able to get some of these 1-star blessings that were pretty impactful and felt like they could meaningfully change your account. And then I think it was just a massive nightmare of negativity around the whole blessings thing, and I think that is definitely a contributing factor to the downtrend that we've seen in the last 6 weeks. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have been there, but it might have been 10 or 15% instead of 30%. But I will say that we have got a very, very, very big update coming to Raid. It's going to be one of the biggest changes that we've ever seen to the game in adding the live arena. I mean, that completely changes. It literally completely changes how the game is played. We've never seen a game mode like that where you are live against another human. It could go either way. It could really ramp up the game's popularity, and it could create a whole new theory crafting. There could be like tournaments. There could be, it could increase the popularity and have this go up. If it is bad, we've seen this be really terrible for games. We've seen it be implemented and it really push players away and make them not enjoy the game as much. And if that happens, we could see the trend continue kind of like this. So honestly, this is going to be a big update, and it's going to tell us how the rest of 2023 is going to go when we get the hard dungeons and we get the live PvP, the mythical artifacts dropping in dungeons, and all of the craziness that's coming to the game. It does have potential to change the trend and get it going in a positive direction. But you know that I'll keep you in the loop here on the channel, and we'll always be talking about every month or so the health of the game and what I expect for trends in the future. And we're going to need to see that update go live, and then I'm going to have to revisit this topic, and we're going to have to look at the numbers and see if I expect it to be a good thing or a bad thing for Raid in the future. And also, I want to say another reason I don't think it's dire in terms of the trend going down this year so far is because Raid doesn't have a true competitor. I understand that there's like half competitors. There's Eternal Evolutions and games out there that are other options for players. But in terms of the dark medieval aesthetic with 500 plus champions and high caliber graphics and marketing, there just is no competitor. So until Raid gets a true competitor, then it's really never going to be dire, because there really isn't anywhere else for people to go and get the same caliber of experience that Raid is currently offering. So that day is going to come at some point, whether it's the end of 2023 or at some point in 2024. Like, there's no way that companies don't notice the kind of revenue that Raid is pulling in, and there's lots of rich people out there that are in business meetings and discussing how can we compete and do the same thing that Raid is doing. So it's going to happen at some point. We just don't know when that day is going to come. But when it does come, then we'll be able to get a clearer picture of if Raid can maintain what it is or even grow in a marketplace that shows them having some true, actual competition. But yeah, just a fun discussion here, and remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Is it alarming yet? Do you think it's going to reverse? Do you think the update's going to bring people back? Is there anything that you think caused it to drop in the last 6 weeks or so that I forgot to mention, or anything like that? But as always, I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.